Duane Bock arrived at Campbell in 1987 from East Hampton, Long Island, as a walk-on to the golf team. 4 years later, he became Campbell's first golfer on the Division I level to finish in the top 10 of its conference tournament all 4 years. More than 3 decades later, Duane is still the only men's golfer in Campbell's D1 history to accomplish that feat. But he went on to greater achievements, winning the prestigious North and South Amateur Championship and a 12-year professional playing career. For the last 2 decades, Duane has been a caddy on the PGA Tour, including 14 years with Kevin Kisner and now with Sepp Straka. Now based in Morganton, Duane and his wife Geraldine have raised 2 collegiate golfers. Ahead of the U.S. Open, Duane's travels brought him back to Buies Creek as his son Alex prepared for a North Carolina amateur qualifier at Keith Hills Golf Club. My name is Stan Cole, class of 1987, and this is the next installment of Tales from the Creek, where we visit with people who've made this place special over the years. I'm delighted to be joined today by Campbell golfing great and PGA Tour caddy Duane Bock. Welcome to Tales from the Creek, Duane, and thanks for taking the time to visit with us.
Absolutely glad to be here.
Duane, let's just start at the beginning. Tell us about growing up on Long Island and how you got started in golf.
I was the youngest of 3 boys. My dad got us all started about the same time, so I got started when I was about 4 years old. So I grew up in the eastern end of Long Island. Unfortunately, I was both ways. I mean, it's fortunate and unfortunate, I guess, in both ways. We were not members of a country club, so I ended up growing up working at the Maidstone Club, which is a private club on the eastern end of Long Island. So golf has always been in my life, always been in my family's life. Grew up caddying at the Maidstone Club, working in the pro shop, picking up the range, always around the game of golf. And the game of golf allowed me, or Maidstone allowed me to actually play and practice after 5 o'clock. Employees could play and practice after 5 o'clock every day. And that's kind of where I kind of took the game and fell in love with the game. And it wasn't long after I really started playing high school golf in 8th grade that I knew it was something that I wanted to do in college. But coming from the Northeast, I knew I wanted to play in the South. I wanted to play year-round. So when I was looking at schools coming from the Northeast, I wasn't recruited anywhere. So I went looking, and I found Campbell, and was very fortunate to find Campbell, and spent 5 great years at Campbell.
What kind of instruction did you have growing up, Duane? Was it somebody there at the club, or you are a family member?
No, it was my dad. My dad was just mainly taught us the fundamentals of the game. But growing up, I didn't have my first real pair of golf shoes until I was 14 years old. I didn't really have my first set of golf clubs. I remember buying my first set of golf clubs. They were Ram golf clubs for $200. And I think I was 16 years old. I used my caddying money to buy that. So a lot of my stuff was hand-me-downs. My dad, but he wanted us to learn the game. It was he took kind of the motto of be an athlete first. Mm-hmm. So I played all the sports, played baseball, basketball, soccer. I played everything except football, to be honest with you. Being the size that I am, everybody thinks first looking at me I was a football player, but that was one of the only sports that I never played. But I was on the football field. I was in the marching band, so I was in uniform on Saturday mornings, watching my friends play football. But anyway,
what instrument, Duane?
I played the trumpet. Yeah, so I was a trumpet player. I was in the band and chorus in high school. I did school musicals. I just loved school. I loved everything about it. My friends, we all did the school musicals. We all were in the band and the chorus together, and so I mean we were marching down the streets and parades and Memorial Day and the Christmas parades and all that other fun stuff. So high school was a great experience for me, and but it was something that my dad just let us play, let us figure it out on our own. And then as I got older, the head pro, we have a new head pro that came to Maidstone during my senior, while I was just finishing up high school, and his name was Dave Alvarez, and he had an assistant, a teaching professional, Glenn Farnsworth, and the two of them took me under their wing and really gave me that proper instruction to get to the next level. I remember a lot of times they would take me to Shinnecock, and I would be playing with members in the afternoons at Maidstone, and late in the evenings. It was always, they took the time to spend with me and give me the proper instruction that I needed to be able to play in college and then play fortunately 12 years after college professionally.
Duane, when did you start playing competitive tournaments? What was your junior career like?
I actually played in my first junior tournament when I was 9 years old. It was a little par 3 golf tournament for the Met section up in the metropolitan area in Long Island, Connecticut, Westchester County, New Jersey, Upper New Jersey, called the Met section. So I played in the Met Junior. It was a little 9-hole par 3 tournament when I was 9 years old. And then because my older brothers were also playing in the junior stuff, and I was so young that the Met section actually allowed me. They invited me to play, but I would play with the girls from the ladies from the forward tees, and so I didn't really. I was too young to even have an age division, but they would so there I was at 9, 10 years old playing with the girls, kind of in their. I wasn't really competing against them in their division, but I was playing 18 holes until I got to about 11, 12 years old, and then I was playing in the 14 and under category. And but I grew up playing in the Met section all the way through my junior career and my high school career. And when I look back at my junior career and things like that, I had a nice high school career. I won the county tournament, the conference tournament. I was all state, things like that. I represented New York State in the high school nationals, the preps. My senior year, being the low senior at a New York State. The junior stuff, I wasn't winning anything, but I was always consistently had a chance to win. And I think part of that is I just had to learn how to do it, and then finally in college, I was able to win 4 college tournaments at Campbell and learn how to win and learn how to compete. And so my career as a junior, I wasn't a ranked player, I wasn't anything like that, but I just kept my nose to the grindstone, so to speak, and just kept on going. And I prided myself in a lot with consistency. Consistency was very important to me. I was never a kid that could go out and shoot really, really low. But I was a kid that always was around par and was always in golf tournaments and had a chance anyway.
Duane, we hear in basketball terms that a kid grows up a gym rat or something like that. What's the golfing equivalent of that? Because it sure does sound like you were that guy.
Well, yeah, I was that guy in a way. I would call him, fortunately now with my career and success that I've had in my career now as a PGA Tour Caddy, I'm able to have the club membership. And I would say that my youngest son, Alex, who's 17 now, just graduated from high school, I would call him more of a club, right? Somebody that grows up at the golf course. And I, and fortunate enough that he grows up at a golf course, but he's playing. I grew up at a golf course and I was working, and I was working until the sun was going down, and then playing golf. So I mean, I spent a lot of time at the golf course, but a lot of my time was actually working at the golf course. I was always around the game of golf. Even my days off, I remember taking a handful of clubs and riding my bicycle to the golf course and just kind of ditching because it was a private golf course, I'd ditch my bike in the woods and go out with about 5 clubs and find an open hole that nobody could see me and just go and play a few holes. And growing up on the Eastern and Long Island where clubs there was no public golf to be played. Everything was private where I was. And so that sneaking on the golf courses and things like that was something that I did quite often as a kid if I wanted to play before 5 o'clock. And so that's something that I did as a kid. And so if that, as far as the access, I kind of made my own access, so to speak. So, but like I said, it's a little different from my kids now. I mean, they can just go play whenever they want to go play. But but again, I was really, I was fortunate enough to have Dave Alvarez and Glenn Farnsworth in my life who provided me so many opportunities to play golf and play golf on world-class golf courses. They would take me with them to play Deepdale and to play Wingfoot and to play Shinnecock and Maidstone, and the National is right behind Shinnecock. I mean, world-class golf courses. They would take me and allow me to play, gave me the opportunity to play those places.
Duane, growing up working on the golf course, what kind of appreciation does that give you now for all that goes on to make everything happen each day, around the facility, both on tour and just for the recreational player?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you learn social skills. Caddying is a great opportunity to meet people, to meet and at that young age, I was meeting people who were CEOs of companies who were very successful people, and you learn how to conduct yourself around those people, how to speak to those people. But then you also learn through the game of golf on from their mistakes. I mean, you see these, see what they're doing on the golf course, and it provided me an opportunity to be working and making money. But I also learned a lot from course management and helping. Here I am helping a 45-year-old CEO of who's running companies, and here I am at 16, 17, 18 years old, and I'm helping him around the golf course and helping him, shoot lower scores. I mean, that was quite gratifying, I guess, to say. I mean, it was so you learn how to deal with people, you learn social skills, you also learn that we're all human at the end of the day. I mean, they're just like me. I mean, successful people and people that are, striving to be successful. I mean, we're all humans, and that's what the game of golf affords us. I love the game of golf for those many reasons, the life lessons that it teaches you.
Duane, who are some of your golf heroes growing up?
Wow, golf heroes again. It goes back to Dave Alvarez and Glenn Farnsworth, who I wouldn't be here without those two. To say that my two brothers who kind of pushed me, my father, my mother was not a golfer. Now my father and two brothers were all golfers. They all played in college. My father was a good amateur player, never played professionally, but he was a very good amateur player. Those are the people that I looked up to. Growing up during the 80s, I mean, the media coverage that golf is nothing like it was today. I mean, if we turned on the golf on a weekend, we saw the last 3 holes of a golf tournament, and you saw basically the leaders. So you never really got to meet those people. But somebody that had a lot of influence in my life that probably to this day doesn't really understand that he was I was able to meet to Lee Jansen when I was in college. Lee Jansen just got his tour card, was starting out on tour, and he was friends of one of the assistants, Robert Waters, at Maidstone, and they were going to play up in Westchester County, and he came out to Maidstone and spent a few days out there and playing, and so I was able to play a lot of golf and got to kind of ask him a lot of questions about how to practice, the things to practice, what it would take to make it out on tour, and the things that I needed to do to get better. Lee Jansen had a big influence in just the words to me on how to practice, on how the importance of short game and putting was. And I kind of took that to heart. And that's kind of how I started beating people it wasn't from distance off the tee. It wasn't from striking the ball and hitting every green. I mean, I drove the ball straight, but chipping and putting is how I beat people. And that was a big influence that I had from Lee Jansen telling me those things.
Duane, there's a lot of schools between Long Island and Bowie's Creek. How did you arrive upon a Campbell? Tell us about your recruiting.
Sure. So my oldest brother David went down to Jacksonville University and went to school down there. And then my middle brother Daryl, who was 3 years older, went to Methodist College just down in Fayetteville, North Carolina. So when I was looking at schools, I went to East Carolina, I went to Florida Southern, I went to Methodist. I went to a lot of schools in the South. And those schools that I went to go visit, they all told me that they had a process of walk-ons. Walk-ons would have a tryout. He would have a walk-on tryout. If I was good enough to get through walk-on tryout, then I could practice with the team for a year. And then my second year, if I was still showing progress, so that I could go and try out for the team my second year. But I really wanted to play. And so my brother, after I went to Methodist, my brother said, well, since you're here, why don't you call up Coach Danny Roberts up at Bowie's Creek and at Campbell and just take a look there, since it's just 30 minutes north of there. So that's what I did. And I remember sitting down with my parents with Coach Roberts, and Coach looked at us and said, well, I don't have any seniors. I have 4 juniors. I don't have any sophomores, and the rest are freshmen that I'm recruiting to come in. So he said, we will not have a walk-on tryout. If you're good enough to qualify, you'll play. Said he didn't have any scholarship money or anything for me. But the opportunity to play was there if I was good enough, and that's all I needed to hear. So I went ahead and told him that Campbell University was where I wanted to be and where I wanted to go. And I love the campus. He reminded me, I love the small school setting. Growing up on the eastern end of Long Island, I came from a small high school. I came from a small village of East Hampton that, the locals, we all knew each other. And that's the family setting of that is something that I just was dear to my heart. And I felt I had that as soon as I walked on campus at Campbell. My father had his own landscaping business, and my father was so impressed with just how clean and how well manicured everything was around campus and everything else. And even though it was out in the middle of nowhere, I knew that was a place where my teammates and the friendships that I was going to make at Campbell, we were going to become family by that. And family is huge in my life, and I knew that Campbell was going to provide that family setting for me.
Duane, how do you go from walk-on to a guy that eventually plays in 44 collegiate tournaments, which at the time was a school record and still top 3 tournaments played? Where did you improve? How did you get to where you go from a recruited walk-on to a starter for all 4 years?
Gosh, I don't think there's any secret formula. I just believe that it's you have belief in yourself, you believe in your ability, and you just keep working. And growing up, I always there was a saying, I think it came out in Golf Digest, and it was a picture of Payne Stewart was on the cover. My roommate Lou Massini will remember this, because in our dorm rooms they were just concrete walls, and I remember taking those pictures of Payne Stewart and cutting them out of the magazine and taping them on our cinder block walls in the dorm room. But this saying said, pick a pro and imitate him. And Payne Stewart is somebody that I basically felt was the pro that I picked, and I wanted to imitate and be like. So I just, like I said, it's just something that it was it's just hard work. I mean, I don't think there's any secret formula. I can't put my thumb on one thing that made me come from a walk-on that, I just never, I had belief in my ability. My parents and my brothers and my 2 teachers with Dave Alvarez and Glenn Farnsworth, they were behind me to tell me how good I was, which I think is very important to any athlete, to anybody in general. I mean, you need a solid support system behind you, and supporting you. And I had that. And so even though I was a walk-on, I never felt like I was any less of a person or had any less of an ability. I grew up in a place that a lot of coaches just never went and looked for kids to come and play for them. So, and I just, I just put the time in and I put the effort in. And unfortunately, those first couple of years of school, I will say that I was not a good student. I put too much work into my golf game, but that quickly turned around when I understood that grades did matter, and if I wanted to stay eligible, I needed to work a little bit harder in the classroom, which I did. And but yeah, it was just through hard work.
College golf is a team sport, but it's individuals combining for a team score in a tournament. But it also, your teammates give you built-in competition because, they're only going to take 5, maybe 6 to each tournament. If you're a team of 10 or 12, what was it? How important was it to have that built-in group of competitors for you during the practice time and qualifying?
I think it's huge. I think it's, I see it out here every day on the PGA Tour. I mean, I just walked off a practice round just 30 minutes ago, and we played, I work now for Sepp Straka, and Sepp went to University of Georgia, and we just played with 3 others that went to, they were teammates at Georgia together. So it's that friendly. It's competition within each other. It's just like any family. Brothers will be competitive with each other. It's something that we pushed each other, and I can tell you that the juniors that when I came in as a freshman, and with Chip Watson and Jeff Barth and Tim Dean, and those guys, they were all juniors at the time, and they pushed us to play better, and we looked up to them because we knew that they were the guys that were going to be playing, and we wanted to play alongside. So I learned a lot from just watching and observing on the things that they did, and if they spent extra time on the putting green, or they went over to at Keith Hills, that we had a great, I believe it's still there. It's a little chipping area over by the 3rd hole of the black course, and we just spent hours over there chipping. And if that's what they were doing, man, I wanted to do it too, because I knew that that's how they were going to make it on the traveling team. So that friendly competition. And then we had some great players. Dirk Finney, who played the first 2 years, my freshman and sophomore year. He was from New Jersey. He was a fabulous player, unbelievable. He transferred on to Colorado my junior year, so he wasn't there my last 2 years, and I believe he's coaching now at UNC Greensboro. But he was a great player, and another player that I looked up to, and just learned from his attitude on the golf course. Not much really bothered him, and never got upset. He never got too high. He never got too low. He just kept grinding away, and so Dirk was another one that pushed me, and we just pushed each other as a team. And a lot of great things. You win a tournament individually, but the team doesn't win. There's there's still a void there. You get on the van and you're driving back to Bowie's Creek, and you got the individual trophy there, but the team trophy's not there, and there's a void there. It definitely was. It wasn't an ego thing or anything like that. And if somebody else like David Rainey or I remember Brad Wilson won the conference one year. It's just when those guys won, you just felt the pride for them, and you were just as happy for them as if you won. So, and again, it goes back to family, right? It's when your family does something great, you're proud of them, and that's what we had at Campbell University.
Duane, your team broke through with a conference title in 1989 at Keith Hills. Do you ever think back to that time where you all got to celebrate with that conference trophy? There wasn't an automatic qualification to the regionals tied to that, but how special was it to win as a team on your home course?
Yeah, that was really special. And looking back to that, I look back to that team. I believe now we're going back 30 plus years. 35 years, whatever it's been. I believe I was on that, the playing on that team. We're all teammates, but the players that competed that week, I believe it was myself, Lou Massini, and Glenn Pierce, I believe. And I believe we were all walk-ons. So we had 3 of the 5 were walk-ons with me, which I just again, that just goes back to allowing Campbell. Wendell Carr took over the team for Coach Roberts that freshman year. So Coach Carr gave us that opportunity, and even though we weren't scholarship players, he brought us in and helped us to win that conference championship with 3 walk-ons on that team that were walking on a year prior. I mean, there was a lot of pride in that as well. Even though but it goes beyond that team championship, goes beyond the 5 that played. It's also those other teammates that didn't play that week. I mean, throughout the season we pushed each other, but that's one memory I do have of that conference championship is how we had 3 walk-ons in the starting 5 there.
How about away from the course, Duane? What are some of your favorite memories of your time in the creek?
Wow, weekends. It's one thing that I really wasn't prepared, I guess, as much as when I'm sitting in the dorm room there, and I look across the street where the stadium is now, is where our parking was, on the other side of, is that 421? Mm-hmm. So right on the other side of the 421 was our school parking, and how full that parking lot was on Monday through Friday. But come Friday afternoon, there was about 5 cars in that parking lot, and it was mainly just the athletes that stayed on campus on the weekends. And so weekends, Friday nights and Saturday nights, I mean, the team getting together and just having so much fun in basically the middle of nowhere. I mean, we didn't need, as long as we had each other, we had a great time. I mean, it was we didn't need the lights and the glamour of a big city or anything else to make it a good time. I mean, I remember, gosh, what is that? Is it Irwin? Halfway to Dunn is it the town called Irwin? Mm-hmm. And Jeff Barth, there's a little golf course. I think it starts with a C. Chicora. Yeah. So he lived out there, and I remember we played glow ball out there. I mean, we just had a blast playing glow ball at night. And I remember Ken Wooten and I mean, we played tennis. I mean, we just did everything. The activities that we did together, and those are the memories that I have of playing doubles tennis and intramural black basketball and playing glow ball and just sharing meals together. I mean, you don't realize, the older you get, I mean, to get to know somebody, I mean, you share a meal with them, and you learn so much about somebody by just sharing a meal with them, and that's what we did. I mean, it was we just shared everything together.
Well, the most important person you met during your time at Bowie's Creek, I understood, happened on the what was then the third hole of the black course, now on the green. You want to take us through that?
Well, so my now wife, Geraldine, I mean, we've been married almost 30 years now, but we met in college. What we actually first met, it was in the OA, I guess it's called the OA, the little snack shack in the clubhouse. She was there with a friend, and we were playing we had a golf tournament, or we were qualified. We were doing something. And back in college, because I hated doing laundry, and Keith Hill was down in the valleys that could get pretty wet at times. So I made it a habit of tucking my pant legs into my socks. So it kind of looked like I had, I guess, some knickers on or +4s on at the time. And then I had black and white. Back then, the saddle shoes were big, either khaki or tan and white or black and white. And I remember I guess I had saddle golf shoes on and had my pants tucked into my socks. And so I remember I was waiting in line behind them, and she didn't know I was looking, but she kind of elbowed her friend April and pointed down at my shoes and everything. And so my New York Yankee kind of came out in me, and I asked her if she had a problem, and she kind of got all embarrassed, and she said, "Oh no, your shoes remind me of cheerleading shoes we used to wear while we were cheerleading." So we kind of struck a friendship up from there. And then her first golf tournament she came to, it was our home golf. She's never been on the golf course before. It was our home golf course at Keith Hills, and back then the number 1 of the black course was the first hole. So she's following my group, and we get to the third hole, and I hit it close on 1, close on 2, and I don't make the putt. And I hit it close again on 3, and I missed the putt on 3. And she looked over to one of my friends that was following as well, and she said, "You would think after 4 years he would know how that putt breaks." So my friend's like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, he's been playing here for 4 years, and he's still, he doesn't know that ball goes to the right." And he's like, "Well, the pin's not always in that area. We don't always see the pin over there." She goes, she had no idea that they changed the hole locations every single day. So she thought for 4 years, I was putting to the same exact hole, and I should know exactly how that ball broke after 4 years of college there. But the long story short, I think I made the turn a couple under, and my brother came up from Fayetteville from Methodist to see how I was doing. And so I was making the turn, and he sees Geraldine. So he says, "How you doing? How's he doing?" And Geraldine says, "Oh, he's not doing good. He's not doing good." So I see my brother walking across the road going to the 11th tee. And so my brother says, "All right, hang in there." I go, "All right." He goes, you're not playing well?" I'm like, "I'm 3 under." He's like, "Geraldine just said you weren't playing good." I'm like, "Well, I've missed a lot of putts, but I'm still 3 under. I'm still doing all right." That was her first exposure to golf. And, but now she's getting it. We have 2 kids that, played high school golf and college golf now. And, so she's watched a lot of golf in her career. And, she's actually some of my best golf tournaments, on the Canadian Tour as a professional. We have a couple of second place finishes up there, and, missed out on winning a couple of times. But my best tournaments up on the Canadian Tour was with her caddying with me. Or for me. So it's been a lot of fun.
Duane, Coach John Crooks has built a program here at Campbell that's won 160 combined men's and women's tournament titles, reached the NCAA postseason 36 times. In your opinion, what are some of the reasons he's been able to be so successful here?
I believe he knows how to motivate. He knows how to push. I know that for me, it's exactly what I needed. Coach Crooks came in my senior year. So I played 3 years under Coach Carr. But even while Coach Carr was the coach, Coach Crooks was kind of he would help out the team. He played a lot with us, and at the time he was still very competitive in his golf, and he would go out and play with us and just absolutely drill us. Him going around Keith Hills was like just a joke. He knew how to play that golf course. He knew what to hit, and he would be like, he just knew how to motivate us, saying the things, but not only challenge us as well, I would say. The challenges that he put out there, he let us be grown men. We had to make decisions on our own. But at the end of the day, if those decisions were not correct, he knew how to discipline us. He knew how to talk to us. He knew how to, so I would say we had a long leash, but we had a leash. He let us be grown men and make these decisions on our own. But at the end of the day, he was also there to help us, and motivate us. And sometimes it was more fatherly. It was things that needed to be said, and it was discipline at times, and it was praise at times, and it was and it not only came. What I loved about Coach Crooks, and for me, and what helped me out so much is, the score didn't define who you were. The times when just because you shot 67 or 69 and was low on the team, if there was something that he saw that the process wasn't correct or things that could improve, he was there to guide us and to help us get better in those things, and also the structure when I needed a little bit more structure in my practice, and he knew that, and he was able to make sure that sit me down in his office and tell me that things that I needed to work on physically and mentally and things like that. So he was a good motivator. He was a good he was somebody that was not afraid to discipline. I don't want it to be a harsh word. Discipline is good, but he wasn't afraid to. He wasn't there to be your friend. I mean, he was a friend, but he was there to coach you and to make you better. And that's I think that's why his teams are so good, because he allows you to be the men and women that you are growing up, but he's also there to help you achieve the goals that you want personally and what he wants as being the leader of the team.
Duane, your daughter, Albany, is a college golfer at Belmont Abbey. Your son, Alex, getting ready to start his college golfing career this fall at Charlotte. Given your incredibly busy travel schedule, how much were you able to be involved in coaching them or helping them along as they developed?
Quite a bit. I mean, yeah, I my approach with them was a lot like my father's. I wanted to make sure that their fundamentals were correct, their footwork, their balance, those things when they were little, because the body changes so much, they grow so quickly, they get stronger just as months go by. Their body changes and strength changes and flexibility and things like that, and so I just kind of wanted to make sure that they learned the game and had fun learning the game. So my time, while at times in the summer, it's there are stretches that I'm on the road quite a bit, but there's also stretches where I'm home quite a bit. If you look at the big picture, I'm on the road and competing 28 to 30 weeks out of the year. So there's a solid 22 weeks that I'm home. And that time is spent with them, and it's time. And if they said they wanted to go to the golf course, by gosh, we went to the golf course and we had fun. And when they were little, there could have been days where they wanted to go to the golf course. By the time we got out there, and then all of a sudden it's, Dad, I'm thirsty. Dad, I'm hungry. So we get something to drink, something to eat. And then it's, do you want to hit some balls? Well, no. Okay, well, why don't we go over here to the chipping green? We go to the chipping green, and the next thing I know, they're building sandcastles over in the chipping bunk, the practice bunk or something like that. But I always wanted the golf course to be a place that they would have fun, not a place that they dreaded going to. And so I think to this day, that's where they go to have fun. It's their playground, so to speak. And that's kind of what the philosophy that I took. And as I said with Coach Crooks, I mean, the score that they shoot, and one of the lessons that I try to teach them is the score that they shoot doesn't define them, but the process, how they shoot that score, their attitude and their commitment and things like that, the process, those are the things that's gonna define them. Their attitude, how they do it, and if they shoot 85 doesn't mean that they're a bad person. If they shoot 65 doesn't mean that they're a great person. But how they got to those numbers is what's more important to me, and how they treat people and how they treat themselves and things like that. That's what's important to me, and that's kind of the values that I've tried to teach them. But physically and things like that, I think I'm trying to give them a great support system at home. We have a kid. His name is Matt Short, and he's a mini tour player. He plays out of he's a very successful mini tour player. Plays out of Mimosa Hills at home. The head pro at Mimosa Hills is also one of my best friends, Jimmy Piercy. So when I'm out of town, they kind of keep an eye on him. They're not afraid to if they're struggling with something. They know that they can go to Mr. Jimmy or to Matt and ask him a question, and they'll help him out. So it's a good community to be around, and the support that they have at the golf course are, they're kind of my eyes, and they help them out as well. So it's little things like that you know, as far as instruction and things like that. And I also talked to, to both of them, to Matt and to Jimmy, about, the things that I'm trying to get them to do in their golf swing, and trying to, and so they'll just watch them. I mean, there have been plenty of times where Jimmy would call me up. I'm on the road, and he'd call me up, and he'd be like, I don't like how Alex is, swinging it. It looks like he's doing this. And so it's like, man, just go out. So I talked to Alex, and I asked Alex to just have Jimmy take a look at it tomorrow and things like that. So it's, somebody's always watching my kids, which is great. And again, it goes back to family, right? I mean, it's, you build a good support system, and that's the community that we have around home, around Mimosa Hills. And it's a one big family.
Duane, I like to ask this question to my guests, no matter what sport it is, but what kind of advice would you give to an incoming freshman on the Campbell golf team?
Well, that's a great question. Is to my advice to I mean, wow, because my son's going to be a freshman going into a college, onto a college team. As it goes, as I said earlier, I think you can learn a lot from observing, and not to think that you know it all. I know that these kids that come into Campbell with the program that Coach Crooks has built over the years, they are these kids that are getting recruited and coming into these programs now are great players. But they have to understand that there's a lot of room to learn, and the way you learn is through listening and through observing, through your eyes and your ears, and that would be my biggest advice to them, is to listen, to watch, to learn, because you don't have to agree with everything. I'm not saying that Coach Crooks will be able to tell them exactly. There's no magic formula. I mean, there's no, it's not lightning in a bottle. It's, but there's going to be a lot of information out there that they can learn from. And there's going to be information that they're going to just throw away because it's not going to be for them. But still, it's, you're not going to learn if you're always talking, if you're always going to try to think you can do it on your own. It's, as humans, we need each other, and you can learn a lot, good things and bad things. You can see what someone else is doing that's, and they're not progressing the way that they should, and you can learn from that as well. So, just to use your eyes and your ears to listen and to learn.
The Fighting Camel Club empowers student athletes to lead with purpose on and off the field. Over the past 3 years, donations to the FCC have helped fund scholarships, facility enhancements, health and wellness improvements, and the greatest needs of the athletics department. With our move to the CAA, the need for your support has never been greater. Memberships begin at just $100 and can get you access to exclusive merchandise and seating. Head to GoCamels.com and hit the Give button.
Our guest today on Tales from the Creek is Campbell golfing great and PGA Tour Caddy Duane Bock. Duane, the 2024 U.S. Open just around the corner here at Pinehurst number 2. 32 years ago, you were crowned champion of the North and South Amateur, which is one of the great longest running amateur events in the country. Take us back to that. Take us back and take us a little bit through your Pinehurst experiences there.
Yeah, it's Pinehurst is a special place to me, has a special place in my heart. I mean, I remember starting back while playing at Campbell. Weekends were more off, were our times to do the things that we NCAA regulates, how many hours and things like that of team practice that you can have. So weekends we were on our own, and I remember making that trip across, leaving Campbell with Kenny Wooten, teammates, and we'd get in his Honda, and we'd drive across Fort Bragg, an hour or so, and we'd just go and we'd just practice it go to the range and chip and putt, and we would practice on Saturdays or Sundays at Pinehurst, and it was a love I had for Pinehurst, long, years before that golf tournament. But so leading up into that golf tournament, another thing that happened is I was out at actually Kenny graduated, and I was still at Campbell. Graduate my 5th year. I had to go back my 5th year to graduate. Kenny was getting married out in Seattle, and so we went out. It was during the winter. I believe it was over Christmas time, and we played some golf out there, and I slipped and dislocated my kneecap. So I was laid up. I had some surgery on my knee to clean up some tears in the meniscus and things like that, and so all I could do that spring was chip and putt, and that chipping and putting, that practice of chipping and putting leading up into the north-south that year is pretty much what that practice is what led me to help me win that golf tournament, because I was not gonna out ball strike anybody. It was I couldn't. I was always a short hitter. I wasn't gonna out drive anybody. My iron game wasn't as good as anybody else's, but I knew that I could compete with my wedges and my chipping and my putting, and because I put that extra time in. Here it is. You slip and you fall, and next thing you know, you're on an operating table, and then you're in a soft cast down your leg, and you can't do anything. You think the world's coming to an end, but at the end of the day, I mean, it was a blessing in disguise, because I just spent about a month and a half chipping and putting, and then went ahead and won that golf tournament.
Duane, what is it about Pinehurst number 2 that makes it so special, such a great course?
Again, I think it's course management. I think I remember playing that year with my brother on the bag. I mean, it was we didn't care where the pins were. I mean, we had spots in practice rounds that we picked out the spots where you needed to be, and we tried to hit those spots on every hole, no matter where the pin was. It's and then we knew if we didn't hit those spots, it would leave us in the correct positions to be able to have the best chance to get a ball up and down. And it was, and that's what I love about that golf course. It's you have to think your way around. You have to, and it also provides an opportunity to hit different shots around the greens. You can roll it along the ground. You can bump it halfway up the hill. You can fly it all the way to the green. I mean, it's your lie will dictate what type of shot you have to hit, and those are things about architecture of golf courses that I love. It's just not one dimensional. It's with the runoffs and things like that. It's if your lie is good and you feel like you can pitch a ball all the way up to the green and get some spin on it, you take that route. If it's green, it's a little iffy, or you may want to roll it or bump and run it, halfway up the hill, that type of deal. Take a 7-iron and run it up, that type of deal. So those are the things that I love about Pinehurst number 2.
You finished that year in 1992 among the top 10 amateurs in the country. How did you go about starting your professional playing career?
Well, yeah, it was a non-Walker Cup year. So a Walker Cup is something that would have meant the world to me, to be able to compete for your country on a team like that. But I knew I wanted to play professional golf, and when I won the North-South, I was fortunate enough that I had a group full of members at the Maidstone Club where I grew up working, got together, and they wanted to sponsor me to go out and play golf. So they sponsored me for 2 years. So in the start of 2019, I started with 2000. In 1993, after I graduated, I played that summer out as an amateur, and then I turned professional. And That fall, I believe I went to Q school in the fall of 1992. So they started their sponsorship and have allowed me to go to the PGA Tour qualifying school that fall. So that's kind of how it got started. It was I sat down with my parents, and it was either, do you stay amateur one more year, one more season, and hope to stay in the top 10 and make a Walker Cup team, or do you move on with your career and have the opportunity to play professional golf? And so that's the road I took. And the members at Maidstone got together and supported me for 2 years, and I played up in Canada. I went to South Africa, played on the South African tour, and got my card on both tours, South Africa and Canada, and that's kind of how that went.
What kind of memories stick out from the time when you were playing? I mean, you mentioned earlier with Geraldine on your bag in Canada. I mean, what kind of sticks out from the time you were as a playing professional?
Again, it goes back. I mean, I just look back in my career, and it was something that I loved Canada. I loved the people up there. I loved the golf courses. I mean, it was there. My first experience was down in South Africa. The cool experience then, I mean, I'm standing on the driving range, and Nick Price at the time was #1 in the world, and Ernie Els and Retief Goosen was just winning U.S. Opens, and there I am on the driving range with these guys and playing in the same tournaments as these guys, and that's when I first got my first taste of it. But then when I went to Canada and I really saw, being their national tour, the TV cameras and the caddy, I mean, the scoreboards and the standard bearers, and all the golf courses are roped off, and it's like, wow, this is really, really cool. And my first year up there, we played 10 tournaments, and I finished 11th on the money list, and we had 10 different winners on the tour that year, and all 10 of those finished 1 through 10 on the money list. So I was the first guy. I made the most money out of somebody that didn't win, and I had a lot. I finished second. I four-putted the final hole in Edmonton, Alberta. I had a one-shot lead and four-putted the last hole, so I didn't even get into a playoff. But you learn so much about yourself and who you are. I finished, top fives and seconds and thirds. I missed out on a playoff by one shot earlier than that, a few weeks before that. So my biggest memories up there, I mean, are just, I shot 63 the final round in Quebec one year and lost to Chris DeMarco on the tournament that year. Played with Mike Weir a bunch of times. I mean, you look back, I played with Ken Duke up there. I played, you play so much golf with these guys that went on and been successful on the PGA Tour and have won majors. And, that's to be able just to kind of look back and take the pride in that, I mean, I competed with those guys, and, I didn't make it to the level that I wanted to make it, but there was one point in our careers that I played at a pretty high level, and that's the pride that I took from that, and I'm doing it a different way. I'm on the other side of the golf bag now. I'm not hitting the shots, but I'm where I've always dreamed I would be, walking inside the ropes, and it's been 10 straight years of playing in majors or being a part of the major since 2014. So what is that, 10 years? That's 40. I think Pinehurst coming up is going to be close to 40 majors for me, being a part of 40 majors. I mean, it's been an unbelievable career for me. And but it all started, those memories up in Canada and how we traveled across the country together. And we go out and just have fun. I mean, it was special that way. And but just to think back to the guys that, look at Mike Weir. I mean, wins Augusta, and he's going to be a captain of the international team at the President's Cup this year. I mean, what a great career. And to think that, we were walking 30 years ago, 30 years ago, we were walking 25 years ago, walking fairways and competing against each other. That's some pretty cool memories.
Duane, you grew up carrying the bag for your job. When did you figure out that, hey, I might be able to switch from a player to caddy? Did your experience doing that growing up lead to your decision to go that way?
I don't.
What led you to?
Yeah, I played full time all the way up until about 2000. My daughter was born in 2002, and I shortly after she was born, I remember what people don't realize is how much time you actually put into the game. You're not just on the road 30 weeks out of the year. I mean, the rest of the time, I mean, you're home, you're working out, you're getting your body, you're working your body out, you're on the driving range and you're working. I mean, it's a constant grind. And I'll never forget, I was up on the driving range at Mimosa Hills and I was home and I just didn't want to be there. I mean, I felt like I was just on the road for 4 weeks and now I'm home and now I'm home, but I'm still not home. Mm-hmm. And I got to the point is it worth it? And those first couple of years, when Albany was born, my wife was still working. My daughter was going to daycare, and it was just a grind that my wife sacrificed so much with me being gone and working so hard to pay the bills at home. While I was successful, but I was successful where I could pay my own bills on the road. And as I stated earlier, I mean, the members of Maidstone got together those first 2 years, but after those first 2 years, I was on my own. They told me after 2 years that they were no longer going to sponsor me, but for me to keep that money and go as far as I could go with it. So, that after 2 years, I played another 10, 11 years on my own, and I was able to support myself on my own, traveling all over the country, traveling to different countries all over the world, playing golf. And so while I was taking care of myself on the road, she was taking care of everything at home. She's paying all the bills at home and keeping a house in order and everything else like that. And that day I was like, you know what? I've had enough. It's time for me to support a family. And really I looked at what I was going to do. And I always had a passion in coaching. One thing that we haven't touched on today is that my 5th year, I played my first 4 years at Campbell. My 5th year, I came back and to graduate. Graduating from college was very important to me. And Coach Crooks knew that. And he offered me, they just started a couple of years before a women's program. So he hired me as his assistant. And even though I wasn't a graduate, kind of like a graduate assistant, and they took care of my schooling my 5th year. So because of that and having that experience, when I decided that I had enough I didn't want to be a career mini tour player for the rest of my life, so to speak. So coaching was, I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world, and that I really felt like I could help good young athletes on the golf course with course management, with things like that. So I really thought about getting into coaching, and I had a couple of opportunities to coach at a lower level, but it meant moving my family from Morganton, North Carolina, which is something that I didn't want to do. So then that's when I decided, you know what, it's a lifestyle that Geraldine and I have only known. Is the travel of golf. And so I decided to get in my car and drive down to Louisiana, Lafayette, Louisiana, where the web.com, or back then it was the Nationwide Tour, I believe, was playing, and sit in the parking lot and find a job. And that's what I did. My first job on that tour was with Jim Gallagher Jr. And then that was just a 1-week deal. He just got in on a sponsor exemption because he's from that area. So I worked for him that first year, and then over that first week. And while I was there, I saw a lot of friends that I competed with up in Canada. And one of them was Ken Duke. And so Ken Duke gave me my first opportunity to work with him. And I just fell in love with doing that. And again, I think caddying and coaching have a lot of similarities. And how to manage your players and around the golf course and things like that. So even though it's not college coaching, it's very close to it, and that's how I kind of got into caddying.
Duane, you had 14-year run with Kevin Kisner, some great success there. Tell us how you started caddying for Kevin, and then some of the highlights of that time together.
Sure. Kevin and I met in 2007. So I was working. I started working for Doug LaBelle on the PGA Tour. Doug's another player that he and I competed together on the Canadian Tour. So I started with him in 2006, and I caddied for him. And I think we started in 2007. On the PGA Tour. And so we were at the second stage of the U.S. Open qualifier, the final stage of the U.S. Open qualifier, and we were playing that week in Memphis. So he was doing it the Monday of Memphis, Tennessee. And we went to play a practice round, and on the first tee was Kevin Kisner and his caddy. I think it was his college assistant golf coach at Georgia. And we just struck a friendship. We played 18 holes. I loved Kevin. We struck a friendship up that we maintained throughout caddy for Doug 2007, 2008, and then in 2009 I was looking for work, and I called Kevin up, and he hired me at Q School in 2009, and we spent 14 years together after Q School in 2009. And as far as the highlights, it just starts from the beginning. I mean, our first year together at Q School, I remember he missed getting his PGA Tour card by one shot in 2009, so he was going to be playing on the Nationwide Tour. And so I remember coming home in 2009 and telling Geraldine, I'm like, this kid can be a top 50 player in the world with his attitude and how good he was. So we go out in 2010 on the Nationwide Tour, and he wins in in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and finishes 11th or 10th or 9th, somewhere. He finishes in the top 25 to get his PGA Tour card. Then we went out on the PGA Tour in 2011. He lost his card. We had to go back to Q School. He got it back like 2012 on PGA Tour. Lost his card again, and had to go back on the back onto the Nationwide Tour in 2013. And I remember him when we had to go back onto the Nationwide Tour. We had a conversation, and he told me, he said, Duane, he said, I can't pay you what I can pay you on the PGA Tour. They play basically almost 10% of what the PGA Tour plays for. And he's like, you have a family. I had 2 kids, and he's like, I can't pay you what I've been paying you the last 2 years. He's like, I will find you somebody else to work for. I will help you find somebody to work for on the PGA Tour. And I told him no, I didn't. I was going to go back down with him. I was going to go back to the Nationwide Tour with him. I believed in him that much that I just knew that once he got his feet under him and that I still believed he was going to be a top 50 player in the world. And so we went back down together. I stayed with him. He won that year on the Nationwide Tour, got his card back. And then in 2014, 13, 14, he took off. And then we had an unbelievable run since then, and had 4 wins together, a World Golf Championship together. We almost won the PGA a couple times. We finished second at the British. We had a good run in Chambers Bay on the U.S. Open. So we had opportunities to win majors. We won a World Golf Championship. We lost in the finals 2 other times in the World Golf Championship match play. I mean, it's just been on 2 President's Cup teams with him. So it's been a wild ride with him for 14 years. And he's been good to me and my family, and he's taken care of me and my family for 14 years.
Well, about a year ago, Kevin decides to take a break from golf, and you get going from thinking you're going to spend the summer with the family. Something else happened. Well, you got hooked up with Sepp Straka.
Yeah. So Kevin was struggling mightily last year. He was really mentally, physically, things that started out kind of struggling a little bit physically with mechanics in his golf swing. Just started turning a little bit, I think, mental. You just you start doubting yourself maybe. But things were changing in Kevin's life too. I mean, it's he has 3 young kids, and last summer was really the first year that the kids were in school and they couldn't travel with him. So there were changes in his life, and the golf game just wasn't there. And we talked week after week after miscut after miscut after miscut, and and we talked about it. And he's like, "What do we do?" And I'm like, "Kevin, you just need to let's take some time away. Let's take some time away and be with the family, and golf will be there for you when you're ready to come back and play." That's something that it'll never go away. But I felt like he was just trying to play his way out of it, and we got past that point. It's time that you just have to step back and deal with, hey, let's get away from it for a little while and get things right and miss it a little bit before you come back. And so he decided to take 6 weeks off in the middle of summer last year. And he told me, he said, if you can find work, if somebody offers you to go out and work for a few weeks, go ahead. I want you to work. And so I said, all right. And I was sitting in Pinehurst. Actually, my son Alex was playing in the North-South Junior. And the phone rings on a Sunday night, and it's Sepp. And Sepp says, "Can you come to the British Open with me?" And I said, "Absolutely. I'd love to come to the British." His caddy at the time was having trouble getting a passport and wasn't going to be able to go over the British. And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And the British was about 2 weeks away, and he said, "Well, how about we try to get 1 week in before the British, and you come caddy in the John Deere." And I knew the John Deere started Monday, and this is Sunday night. The next day, I'm like, "So the John Deere like tomorrow?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Well, man, I can't get there until I'm in Pinehurst right now. There's no way I can get there." I said, "But I can be there by Tuesday morning." And so that's what I did. I hung up the phone and I told Geraldine, I'm like, I'm going up to Moline, Illinois. I mean, what are we doing here? So I got in the car that night and I drove from Pinehurst back to Morganton, North Carolina, about 2.5 hours. I packed up all my clothes, drove back to Pinehurst, slept. I watched Alex play 9 holes, his first 9 holes in the North-South Junior, and then went up to Raleigh, got on a plane and flew up to Illinois. And then 6 days later, we win the John Deere Classic together. And then from there, we went over to the British and finished second at the British Open. So our first 2 weeks out together was a win and a second. And as soon as I got back, the phone rings and I look at it and it's Kevin Kisner. So I pick it up, and Kevin doesn't, I skipped over this, but Kevin, to get us, he told me when he was taking 6 weeks off, he said, I'm gonna send you a little money. He goes, "I know you haven't made much money for the family." He said, Kevin was extremely generous, and he said, "I'm gonna send you some money to help you get through the summer." Because he goes, I know you haven't made anything with me this year. We've been missing cuts. So he sent me some money home, and so the phone rings when we get back, and I have a first and a second, and so there's no Kevin's on the other end, and he doesn't say congratulations. He doesn't say anything. He just says, "Send me that check back." So I told him there's no way I was sending that check back. But no, I had a great conversation with Kevin. He told me, he said, look, he said, I know we've had a great run together. He said, but I've already talked to Sepp, and Sepp's going to offer you the job full time, and I want you to take it. So Kevin pushed me on to take on Sepp full time, and so here we are, almost a year later, and I'm caddied in the Ryder Cup last fall, which was an amazing experience. I caddied on the European side of the Ryder Cup, and those guys, what a great bunch of guys those Europeans are. I mean, they brought me and my wife in, being American, and I was just, for a week, you would never know that we were 12 players and 12 caddies with our wives, and we were all one. I mean, it was a special week over in Rome, and we got the win. The European side got the win in the Ryder Cup, and that was a special experience. And now, coming up in a month or so, we're going to be going over and competing in the Olympics for Austria, because Sepp is Austrian, and he's going to be competing in his second Olympics. And so I'm going to go over and be part of Team Austria in the Olympics over in Paris. So I'm looking forward to that.
Wow. Duane, what, I know there's so many facets, but what would you term quickly the best and the toughest part of being of caddy life?
I think the toughest part is your time away from home, the sacrifices. People don't realize, I mean, we just had a tragedy last week with Grayson Murray passing away and taking his own life. We had a rep out here this spring that took his life as well. Mental health is a real thing, and what people don't realize is that you look and you think it's glamorous, and you travel in the world, and you're in beautiful spots, and by no means is it, it is. I mean, it really is. I mean, I'm blessed to be able to do what I do, but there's a lot of things that you do miss at home. There's a lot of sacrifices that go along with it, and you need just like everybody needs a strong support system, and I have that in my family. I have that in my wife and my kids, and everybody around me understands what we're doing, and that's pretty much the hardest part, because behind me right now is an empty hotel room. It's just me in this hotel room. You work your butt off all day, and at the end of the day, you go, you find some dinner, you go to bed, you wake up, and your alarm's going to go off at 5:30 tomorrow morning, and we're going to do it all over again. And and then tomorrow night, I'm going to come home to an empty hotel room and have dinner and set the alarm for 6 o'clock and do it all over again. So it is a grind that way, traveling, being on your own. There's a lot of alone time, which I don't mind, to get your thoughts together. But, but the satisfaction of when you put your hard work together, and you can, as a team, can have success and win golf tournaments, and it's not even just winning, it's just competing and having a chance to win. And those are the highlights. And, that there's no better, the adrenaline that you get when you're coming down the stretch and trying to win a golf tournament, and trying to, and then when you do cross that finish line and you do win, I mean, it's just the highest of highs. And so, that's, it's just knowing that all the work that you put in and is very gratifying, that, the sacrifices that you do make are worth it at the end of the day. And now, like I said, I'm blessed and fortunate enough to be able to provide for my family. And, we're in a situation now that, I can provide. And that's very gratifying, knowing that my first 15 years probably in my career, my wife was home providing for me. And now I'm able to provide for them, and they can have the lifestyle that we have is very gratifying.
Duane, what's your craziest caddy story? Have you ever had to chase off an alligator or something like that?
No, it's it's funny that I think the craziest stories is that people don't really see is, competition is very intense. I mean, you're together, you and your player, the caddy and the player are together a lot. I mean, it's like a marriage, and just like any marriage, you have arguments, you have things like that, and the arguments and the things like that for a lack of a better word, I mean, the fights. I mean, the fights that you have, the arguments that you have, because, there are times when you're just doing the best you can and you mess up, or somebody, your player doesn't think that you're doing a great job. You're not doing your job, and yet you are. I mean, those are things that people decide that you don't see. A lot of what you see on TV are the best that week that are competing, right? I mean, you don't see the guys that are crying in and out, and the arguments going down the fairway when you get the wind wrong, or you decide to hit a 7-iron and it should have been a 6-iron. It came up short into the water, and you have 30 yards over the green, or you could hit a 5-iron and been better off than trying to hit that 7-iron. It's things like that those conversations that people don't see. Those are stories that I'm going to keep to myself, but those are some. But some of the funny caddy stories. I mean, I'll never forget Teddy Scott, who works now for actually, it was Webb Simpson who told me this story. There's player that was coming down 18 at Boston, which is a par 5, and he had a 1-shot lead, and the caddy was standing there, and he says it was either, hit a 5-wood or a 3-wood. And he's like, it's a perfect 3-wood, but it's a perfect 5-wood, but, I got a 1-shot lead, and maybe I just hit 3-wood and hit it over the green into the grandstands, get it, chip it on and 2-putt from there and still win the golf tournament by a shot. And so the player asked his caddy, said, what do you like here? And his caddy looked down and goes, I like you to hit the best shot of your life. It wasn't about, the 5-wood or the 3-wood. It was he's like, I like you to hit the best shot of your life right here. So, it's funny little stories like that. I mean, there's a story up in Canada, the caddy dropped the golf bag. He got in a fight with this pro, and he had enough of it, and he had about 3 holes left to play, and he just took the bib off, dropped the bag, and walked in. So the player had to pick somebody out of the crowd to carry his bag in, and so the caddy gets all the way back to the clubhouse, and he realizes he left his wallet and his car keys in the bag, so he had to go back and get his car keys and a wallet out of the bag. And it's just funny little things like that go on out here. It's you can go on for days and days and days about things like that. So it's there's some, it's a great bunch of guys. I kind of feel like it's a fraternity out here, right? It's hard. It's hard to leave home, but then once you get out here and run amongst your friends and things like that, it's a great time.
Duane, everyone knows that, golf fans know that a PGA Tour event is a 72 holes, generally Thursday through Sunday. What does your week look like in general each week?
Sure, yeah. So Monday, Tuesday, as people ask me, I hate Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is just a grind. It's a lot of work individually without your player, learning the golf course. If it's a new golf course, I spend a lot of Mondays walking the golf course myself. You know what your player's tendencies are. You know exactly how far he hits drivers, so you're trying to find the line off the tees, 3-woods drivers. Sometimes it's irons. Then you're doing a lot of work around the greens. You know areas where they're going to be putting the pins. So it's all about preparing for the next shot, what's going to give you the best opportunity for pars. It's a lot of strategizing of what I call out of position, OOP I put in my book. So when you're out of position, where do we want this ball up by the green to give us the best opportunity to get it up and down? So if you are out of position. So those are the things and it takes time. It's if Sepp hasn't played a golf course or a golf course is new to me, it's a solid 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours walking the golf course and learning all of that. But something like this week, we're at the Memorial this week. Sepp has been here a number of times. I've been here my whole career. So we came in yesterday, Monday afternoon, and we played a late 9 holes yesterday afternoon. This morning we got up. He did all of his putting practice with his teacher, putting and short game work with his short game coach. We went to the range. He did some range session with the TrackMan. And then we played 9-hole practice round this afternoon. He has a sponsor obligation. Tomorrow is going to be Pro-Am. So Wednesday's a Pro-Am day, and then we start on Thursday and play Thursday through Sunday. And then Sunday night, get on an airplane and fly to Pinehurst for the U.S. Open. And now Pinehurst is a place that Sepp has not played. He played the he played the North-South Junior one time, he said, but he doesn't remember it. And it was a different golf course back when he played it. So he will be playing a lot of golf on that golf course, trying to learn the ins and outs of that golf course. It's going to be long days with me because while you're caddying and I'm working with him, you can't really see the things because of, just the cadence of everything on what he's doing, chipping balls and putting balls and hitting shots that I can't really do my work that I want to do. So I'll be out on the golf course with him, and then I'll also have to go back out on the golf course by myself and do those things as far as course strategy on my own. And we'll do that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Now, with majors, there are no Pro-Ams. So at least Wednesday, we don't have to worry about playing with amateurs on Wednesday. And it'll be another day of practice. It'll be 3 days. And what these pros like to do, because rest is important as well, is they play 9 holes each day. Very rarely will you see guys playing 18 holes in a day. It's mostly just 9 holes, so they'll play the front 9 and then go back and play the back 9. And then whatever 9 that they feel like they need a little bit more work on, that's what they'll do on Wednesday. Weather permitting, of course. Some guys are playing all 18 holes this week because the weather does not look good tomorrow. So there's a possibility that we'll get some thunderstorms tomorrow and not be able to play a practice round. So that's kind of why we played 9 holes Monday and 9 holes today, just in case we can't play tomorrow. Some guys who didn't play on Monday played all 18 today.
Aside from on-course strategy and competition, what other responsibilities do you have as a PGA Tour caddy, for your team?
As far as practice, I mean, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think my responsibilities is to learn the golf course. Get as much information as I can and be prepared for the information that I'm gathering is more or less for those circumstances that, like I said, you do hit it at a position. Things are, caddying is a very easy job when all things are all going well, when the player's playing well and the momentum's going. It's a very difficult job when things are not going good because, when things aren't going well, the information gets thrown out the window. It's not about the information at that point. If your player is in a bad spot mentally, if he's down on himself, now all of a sudden you're becoming, more of a psychologist where you now it's how you're talking to him. It's when to talk to him, when to let him vent, and when to just listen. And then if you're listening, you start to hear more of the negative, and it's time to step in and try to get him out of that negative thinking. So it's and at that time, when things get to that point, it doesn't matter that we have 170 yards to the pin. It's more of getting his mind back on track for him to be able to hit a 170-yard shot, and getting his mind back is more important than him physically trying to hit a shot 170 yards. So, early in the week, it's about gathering all the information. So the more information I can gather when things are calm, the better I'm going to be when when the stress starts to hit, whether it's you're trying to win, whether you're trying to make the cut, whether he's in a bad spot, he's just coming off a triple bogey or a double bogey, and he's mad at himself, and it's time. That's when all that work on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is, you have it, so it makes the other times easier to deal with. So, your responsibilities are really, as try to answer your question, are endless. I mean, it's not just physically carrying the golf bag and making sure his clubs are clean, and making sure you put the divot back after, all the things that go on with being a caddy. And, you put weather in there, you got to try to keep them dry and keep the clubs dry, and all that other stuff. But it's, the mental side of it is really the hard part. And the relationship you have with your players is extremely important. And, it goes back to earlier in the conversation today, and that we had with Coach Crooks. It's a matter of, you got to know when you can listen, and then you got to know when, sometimes you have to discipline your player and tell them, hey, snap out of it. And, we have to move on. I mean, that we're 2 over right now, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean we're going to be 4 over in a couple of holes. We can get it back, and but it's knowing when to say it, how to say it. And that's what keeps, I think, the good caddies that you see, the successful caddies that you see, the successful teams that you see a lot of guys that have been together for a long time. That's what they're really good at. It's, there are times where, you may look from afar, whether you're watching on TV or in person, and you're like, man, the caddy's not saying anything. The caddy's just being there. But that if I do step in and try to say, I'm just going to irritate them even more. So you have to learning body language, learning when to talk and when to, because the last thing you want to do is irritate somebody even more when they're trying to compete in a stressful situation. So it's a tightrope for sure.
Duane, you and former Campbell women's star Kylie Pratt are among 21 caddies on the PGA and LPGA tours who are part of the Yeti Caddy program. Tell us a little bit about Yeti Caddies.
Well, it's over the years, I mean, it's changed quite a bit since I've been out here caddying. I've been caddying for almost 20 years now, but it's becoming more and more of a business for us. It's really cool to see that these, the caddy, even just TV coverage is picking up more on the conversations that letting the viewer listen in on player caddy conversations between shots, or preparing for a shot. You're starting to hear more of that. And we are we're in the public eye as much as a player, to be honest with you. And to see these companies that are stepping up, whether it be Yeti, whether it be Janet King, whether it be, even the manufacturers as far as Strixon or Titleist or whoever, these companies are stepping up and letting us, providing us an opportunity, another way to even to make some more money as far as sponsorship deals. So the Yeti program has put the caddies in the program to wear their logo and to represent their brand, and we just appreciate it so much. Every little bit helps, and it's nice. So as me personally, I have Yeti and I have JLab Audio, which is with headphones and things like that. So it's nice, and of course Janet King, and it's nice to have those sponsors behind you.
I always like to wrap up when I talk to my friends in golf with a few general questions. Who makes up your ideal foursome?
My ideal foursome, I would say it would be my wow. And does it have to be 4?
You can. Let's do it this way. 4, and you can be the 5th. We're not. No ranger is going to run you off this course.
And if I mean, again, it'd be my family. Man, I remember if my dad was still alive, it would be my dad and my 2 brothers. It was one of my most special moments after I won the North-South. We went back a couple of years later, and I was able to play number 2 with my dad and my 2 brothers and myself, and we went out and played. I mean, that to me was just a time of my life, and something I'll never forget. And and nowadays, I mean, I just love playing with my kids. I mean, it's just fun. It's it's all about family for me, and that's my ideal. 4-some, 5-some, 3-some, it doesn't matter. I mean, I want to be with family.
What's the most difficult course you've played?
Most difficult course I've played?
Mm-hmm.
Boy, sorry for the pause. I would probably have to say Shinnecock Hills is probably the toughest golf course that I've played.
How about a favorite course?
My favorite course, playing wise and going and a golf course that I'd love to maybe retire and be a part of every day is Pinehurst number 2. Out on tour, my favorite place and my favorite golf course on tour would be Hilton Head, Harbortown in Hilton Head. I just love that spot. And I love the town and I love the golf course. I love the strategy it takes to play both those golf courses. But if I was to play it, I would love to just be able to play Pinehurst number 2 every day.
How about your favorite club?
My favorite club is the putter. I mean, yeah, it's a great equalizer. I mean, it's I can hit it all over the line, hit it in the woods, chip it out, knock it on the green. If I can make a 30-footer and tie you, and you hit it right down the middle and hit it 5 feet and 2-putt it.
How about the best piece of golf advice that you've ever been given?
Practice your short game and putting. It's 2/3 of your practice. Whether if it's 3 hours, 2 hours has to be on chipping and putting. If it's an hour, 40 minutes has to be on chipping and putting. 2/3 of your practice has to be chipping and putting.
And finally, Duane, can you put into words how Campbell University and the Buies Creek community have impacted your life?
Man, it's hard to put into words, but I owe a lot to Campbell University. I mean, I'm the person I am today because of who I am. I don't know if Coach Wanda Watkins understands the importance that she had in my life. I see that she's retiring this year, or she just did retire maybe. She was a professor of mine. She just the small community, I was not a good student coming into college, and my professors they worked with me. They knew I was trying. They helped me along the way. Coach Crooks, Coach Wendell Carr, my teammates. I mean, that just everybody. I'm who I am today. Not only as a player, as a caddy, as a husband, as a father. All come from the experiences that and the lessons I learned being at Campbell. I don't think I would have gotten that at any other university, whether, going to a bigger university. It was just a perfect fit for me, and God put me there on that campus for a reason, and I am who I am because of Campbell.
I'm Stan Cole, and our guest today on Tales from the Creek has been Campbell golfing great and PGA Tour caddy, Duane Bock. Thank you, Duane, for sharing your Tales from the Creek.
Thank you.